Hey guys, I'm Koi Fishy Costume and today I'm going to show you all a tutorial on how to make this super cute curly dog tail with a hidden belt loop. Let's get into it. Alrighty, so first thing we want to do is cut out our pattern and we can see how the layout should be like this. Now for this tutorial I am going to have two colours, so I'm going to cut along this line again. Once I've cut those out I'm going to trace them onto my fabric. Alright, so they're all cut out now, and as you can see all the pattern pieces with the number 1 are going to be the first colour, and then all the pieces with the number 2 are going to be the second colour. So we'll group them. We'll start with this colour, and this colour is going to be red, so I'm going to trace them onto the fur, making sure that I do a front and a back side. So you'll see that's what I've done here. In patterns, when it says cut 2, 1 reversed, it means cut 1 this side, and then you have to flip over it and do the same to the other side as well. So I'm going to do that for all the pieces. Alright, so I've got all of these pieces and they're all flipped, so I'll cut them out, making sure to leave a 1 centimeter seam allowance around the outside, and then I'll do the same for my other colour as well for the other pieces. Alright, as you can see, this is the red pieces with the seam allowance around the outside, and this is my second colour with all the pieces. As you can see, one of each piece has an X, so what I've done is when I trace the pattern out and it's the side that has all the writing on it, I've done an X, and then when I've flipped it I've left it. So that means when I'm sewing it together I know which piece goes with which side. Okay, so I've now cut out all of the pieces. I've also put them where they should be, so I obviously have our two sides here. So the next step is for each section I'm going to sew them together. So I'll sew this bit together, this bit, and this bit, and then obviously same on the other side, and I'll sew them all up and then show you what I'll do next. Alright, so as you can see I've sewn this side up, so the next thing to do is attach all the pieces together. So I'll sew here, here, and here, and then obviously same for the other side as well, but I haven't started on that side yet. Okay, as you can see I've now sewn up both sides. So the next thing we're going to do is put both sides together. So you will notice on the pattern that there is markings down the bottom of this piece here. You want to put it on both sides. And when we're sewing them closed, we need to make sure we leave this open because that's the hole that we're going to use to flip it through after. So we put the first sides together. So we have this side and then we put this side on top, and now we want to pin all the way around, obviously leaving this gap here, and we don't want to sew this side because this is where the base is going to attach, but pin all the way around, sew it, and then we'll get on to the next step. As you can see it's now all sewn up. Obviously I've left this part open and this part open, so the next step is making the base. There are heaps of different ways you can do this. I'm going to do a separate tutorial because I'm going to do a hidden belt loop, and I recommend for especially tails like this you want to have some sort of foam support to help it stay upright. On my pattern there are some markings, so when you're drawing it onto your minky or whatever fabric you're using, you want to make sure you mark them because these line up with the top seam, this seam here, and the bottom seam of your tail. And when you're attaching your base on, you want to make sure that your marking lines up. This way it sits nicely. But we're going to trace that onto a piece of minky and cut it out, which is this piece here. And I've left a big amount of seam allowance, and then I've hot glued that to a piece of firm foam. And then the next step you want to do is make this tube. You want to make sure that it's thick enough for a belt to slide through. So you can get a piece of minky, fold it in half, sew across, and I've also glued that on the other side. As you can see it slides through. So you want to make sure that it is bigger than this foam bit here, because the next part is getting these pieces and we're going to blanket or ladder stitch them together, making sure that we still leave the actual tube open. So I'm going to do that and then show you guys what to do next. Okay, so I've now ladder stitched just this bit here closed, so hopefully that's what yours looks like, and then I'm going to do the same for the other side. Once again, just these bits here, leaving it open. So I have now ladder stitched both sides up, so the next step is to get our tail. Now we want to make sure our tail is inside out, so the fur is on the inside, and we get our base piece. Now this is the top of my base tail, so I need to make sure that as I'm pinning it, that this will be along the top. And you also want to make sure that your belt loop runs horizontal, so that when you put your belt in, your tail sits the right way. So as you can see, this is what my tail looks like, and I'm now going to pin it all the way around using this bit onto here. As you can see, I've started pinning it. You just want to make sure that when you're attaching where the belt loop is, you don't accidentally sew it to this bit. You want to make sure you sew it to the outside bit, otherwise you're not going to be able to get your belt through. So obviously I'm going to put it on here, and then I'm going to blanket stitch all the way around, obviously once again making sure that I put these two pieces together, not sewing this part here. So this is what my tail looks like now. I'm going to flip this the right way, put it all the right way, and then I'm going to stuff it. I've now flipped it the right way, and I'm just adding the stuffing through the hole in the bottom. You want to make sure that you stuff it right at the tip of the tail first, so it's pushed out correctly before you start stuffing anywhere else. So once you've got the stuffing up nice and tight to the top, then you can stuff the rest. I'm just finishing stuffing my tail now. As you can see, it's really firm all the way through. So the next step is to close up this hole. So you want to make sure first off all of your stuffing is in, and then you will ladder stitch along the top and close it off. Alright, so I've just finished sewing up the bottom. The one last step I recommend is brushing the fur out of all the seams, especially this one on the bottom. But apart from that, great job, you just finished your husky tail.